The incidence of violence and one shooting death in the police-free zone in Seattle, Mayor Durkin says it's time for demonstrators to pack it in and go home. And she's working out terms with them to sort of balance both things out. Did they make their point, the demonstrators, or do you think the message got lost and set the movement back? I'll ask you, Megan.
Oh, I thought I was going third. I actually wanted to hear what the ladies had to say. So can I go last?
Oh, I have you up first. That's who I went to you.
I think this is a fluid conversation, actually, and that's why yesterday when I was asking Joy and Sunny about Mount Rushmore, I think this is a conversation that's ongoing. I will say in specificity about what's happening in Seattle, I had compared it to I don't remember what I compared it to, but there's a lot of violence that's happening and a lot of shooting that's happening in Seattle, and I think that the mayor had no other option other than to go in. But when we're having conversations about statues, and there was a protest outside of the White House in Washington, D.C. last night, I think these are just ongoing conversations.
Okay, so Sunny, how do you think this played out?
You know, I would agree that these are ongoing conversations. What people, I think, forget historically is that the civil rights movement was not a moment, but certainly a movement, right? When you think about the movie, let's say Selma, and you think about that famous march on the bridge, there was more than one march. Ava DuVernay's movie was only about one march. There were 3 marches on that very bridge. And so I think this is a fluid moment. I think we can't get caught up in having the message co-opted. The message is about the inequity that we see. We don't see that Black lives matter as much as other lives. We don't have racial equality. We have discrimination. We have the fact that Blacks are brutally arrested 5 times more than white people are. So we have this systemic racism that's going on in healthcare. It's going on in employment. That's going on in every facet of our society. And so we have to make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that, yes, maybe people are toppling you know, and I know that we toppling statues because they want to get at the core that these symbols, and like the Confederate flag, I know we have Bubba Wallace coming on. These symbols are a symbol of hatred and history, and we have to move on. And I think I agree with Megan, because this is a fluid conversation.
Right. So, Joy, do you think the message broke through?
You know, I just want to say that these protests are happening all over the world. They're not just happening in this country. Let's remember that. Also, you know, protests create change. They always have, they always will. It's as American as apple pie, as they say. But I don't think it's a good idea for our side, my side, to give ammunition to the other side. Toppling statues only gives them a reason to say that there are a bunch of criminals on the other side. Saying that you should disband the police gives ammunition to people like Trump, who say, you see, they don't want any policing, so that they can use that against the protesters. So I think we need to remember that. And, you know, like we say about the police, there are always a few bad apples. Well, maybe that's true in every group. But let's not paint the entire protest movement now, because they will use it against our side, my side, I'll say my side, in November. So be careful.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So, here's what I think has happened. I think what's happened is both sides have recognized that what both sides wanted is not absolutely possible, but there is change to be made. I believe the protesters discovered or rediscovered that there is a reason to have a police department, particularly when people are shooting. It's always good to have people who will actually investigate to see what goes on. I think that the mayor and the governor and the state discovered that the protesters do have something to say, and they do want to make it better. So I believe messages are being heard. As far as, you know, as statues go, I want everybody to pay attention. I would like to add faces to Mount Rushmore. I think Native Americans would love to have faces added to Mount Rushmore. I'd like to see faces added to Mount Rushmore. I think that because we all now are part of the conversation of what kind of monuments we would love to see, we're in a better position to say, I think this would be somebody great to add. It took us a while to get Sacagawea on $1. Maybe it's going to take less time to get more faces in the places that we'd like to see them.